Good morning, everybody. This is Soden Beard. Hoping you're having a beautiful day. It was nice, man. It's been a past few days been real pleasant. I mean, kind of feels like fall must be close by, but we'll still have some warmer weather. So that's the way you could. It's been in the past, so we might have some cool days sneak in. We'll take. We won't complain about, will we? Nah. Then it'll warm up. So that's the way it is. So, but I had a couple questions. One question basically was asked by Miss Jennifer. Miss Jennifer wants to know, during a hurricane, does the ocean water becomes cooler? Okay, that's a good question. Uh, I'll see if I can answer to my opinion. So don't you don't have to agree with it. But and you can ask meteorologists or the one that studies ocean um, movements because when it's related to hurricanes. But my opinion, dealing with and studying hurricanes, which I have done for many years, uh, since the mid '80s, '84, yeah. So, and each hurricane tropical system over in the ocean, they're unique and they're different. No, like fingerprints, no two storm is ever alike. Now they may track, form in similar paths, and that, but no two storms ever been alike. Each one's got their own personality, and that's the way it is. That's the way the good Lord designed it. That's not my opinion. I don't care who you watch or who you talk with. No one knows exactly how these things is formed 100%. I don't care if they've got a PhD behind their name, a doctor's, if they got their fancy stuff, whatever. Only God Almighty forms these things. But we have some knowledge, and that's true, and I think the good Lord allowed that man to get so much knowledge. But to have it 100% where we can say why these things form and all that, we don't have it. Do I think mankind will ever be that sophisticated or have that much knowledge um, to understand these storms, hurricanes, and tornadoes 100%? No, no. Because why? Because mankind is not the maker or creator of them. So, but that's my opinion. But let me answer this. Okay, that's a good question. When a okay, what's one ingredient you need? And if you've ever been listening to me, in my opinion, when a system is out there and it's brewing and it starts forming thunderstorms across the seas and the oceans, there's one thing that it definitely needs where it will intensify from its birth to its mature stage until it's kind of fizzling out. Well, the one thing it needs to increase, to start getting bigger and stronger, is what? Warm, the warmth from the ocean top waters. Okay, that's what it needs. That's like the gas thrown on fire. It explodes, and that's what it needs. That warmth, the heat, whatever you want to say it, from the ocean. Okay. When that is not there, most 99.9% of the time, it's not going to be forming no tropical depression, tropical storm, or hurricane. That's take the heat, the warmth from the ocean from it. You ain't got much to work with. Okay, so, but what happens? And I think Miss Jennifer, I'll explain this. If this is what you mean, if not, you can text me back and uh, or call me. You know my phone number and explain a little bit more. The ocean waters we're talking about when you're relating to hurricanes. Now, when you're talking about an ocean, you're talking about many acres. Okay, I mean, the hurricane in the ocean is like well, pin dot wherever. Okay, I mean it's just huge in mass. Okay, but when you're talking about the hurricane itself, okay, when it's formed into a disturbance, then into a tropical system, then into a hurricane, we relate by what speeds. Okay, normally it's being formed over the warmth of that ocean. Now, hurricanes and tropical systems like that on the ocean, they can be from one end to the end of it, okay, from the eye west and the eye east, north to south, okay. These storms can be stretching out there. Some of them could be like 100 miles across the from the eye east and 100 miles from the center of the eye to the west. Okay, so they can be big storms. So they're covering a good percentage of water. Now, with that water that it's helping to create when it's forming, coming to birth, and then creates, then it's mature, most time a hurricane, or it could be just a mature tropical storm. Okay, it's over a body of warm water. But what happens up under that system, be it a disturbance, tropical storm, or a hurricane, the water becomes cooler. You said, how does that happen? Well, what makes the water, ocean water, warm anyway? The sun. The rays from the sun just hitting the water, it's like it warms it up. Well, if you've got a storm, what are these disturbances? What are these tropical storms? What are the forms of these hurricanes? Supercell thunderstorms. Okay? That's all they are. Abandon a thunderstorm. They get numerous when it's over that warm water. Okay? Until it forms, and it, because of the winds and from the difference of the equator to the poles and everything else, and God's design is in that spinning, like a top when you spin it. Okay, yeah, and that's what it's doing because of the wind. Yeah, the movement, rotation of the Earth, and the equator to the pole, North Pole, then equator from the south. All this in the trade wind, God's design. Okay, which causes it to rotate. These banding of thunderstorms. And then once it's over that warm ocean water, right, you got, like I said, it could be a 400, could be a 500-mile storm from the beginning of it to the end of it. The center, normally in the middle of it, okay. And if you've ever seen them on diagram, especially these major category 4 and 5 hurricane, looks like to me what I would kind of illustrate it as a saw blade. With those saw blade things, yeah, that's what it's like, a skill saw blade. Have you ever seen a skill saw blade? Got those little edges. That's what it reminds me. Got the hole so it can fit in that skill saw machine. Okay, right, and that's kind of what I said. The eye and the outer. That's what it looks like if you ever watch them on radar. Wherever, however you watch it, yeah. Well, some people say like a donut with the hole. Yeah, kinda. Okay, that's what makes it, because of that movement, everything involved in it. God had it planned. Okay, and the purpose of these storms again, yeah, there's a lot of negative, but there's some good because it could usher in some rain, much needed rain in certain places. Settles the dust and dirt and believe it or not, whenever it passes, yeah, most times it can cause damage and death and can be very fatal and dangerous. But normally after these systems go through, if they do make landfall, and some do, okay, not every one of them do. But yeah, and then it cools down. Have you gone through a hurricane or tropical system? It'd be real hot and humid normally when they come in. Then after it does what it does, then it leaves. The system is leaving or fizzles out. Normally it's much cooler and comfortable weather. That's the way they were designed. To fill these places that needs water from your creeks, your swamps, rivers, lakes. Okay, and so they're a blessing to a point. Okay, they can be dangerous and deadly. Okay, I'm not going to say they can't, but there's a purpose for them. That's why God created these things, what we call hurricanes and tropical systems. But I want to answer the question. Yes, when a system is going over the ocean, it's gathering strength because of the warmth of the ocean water. But what happens is, because what when we're talking about tropical storms and hurricanes, what do we link? What is these systems? Okay, severe thunderstorm. That's correct. But what do they have in common? Wind. A lot of them have wind and a lot of rain, and sometimes lightning as well. They can spawn water spouts when they're over the water and tornadoes. That's true too. But they all, most of the time, have strong wind associated with them. Now, what happens when these systems is going, because normally they're not real fast. Some of them can be faster than others. Some may be like 2 or 3 miles at a crawl, and some can be going across that ocean at 20 some miles an hour. Okay. But still, if it's 500 miles length of it, okay, it takes a couple days for it to really move away. You know what I'm saying? So what happens is when the system is over the ocean and it's got all this wind and it's blowing that water, that warm water. Here's what they call upwelling. Now, upwelling is produced from these storms by the wind. The wind's going out, the wind that's blowing around, and the water spouts and everything else that's going on. Okay, upwelling is basically when the wind, the force of the winds and everything creates the water. What does it do? It brings the cool water that's deeper in the ocean to the surface of the top. Cooler water is then coming from the bottom, well, not the complete bottom of the ocean, but it's coming deeper from in the water of the ocean to the surface, to the top, replacing cooler water with what? Warmer water. So if you had, say, like when this storm was being formed and created, say the ocean waters was at the temperature of 82, 83, or 84, and sometimes it can be warmer. Okay. Well, what happens when these storms going over it, and by the time the storm passes over where it formed, that water is going to probably be much cooler than it was before that storm formed. Okay, when you're talking about warm ocean water, keep your eyes open, because all it takes is some of these systems. When I'm talking about Atlantic, because that's when we keep an eye on. Pacific, people in California, them places got to keep an eye on. But when they come off the coast of Africa, it's like a thunderstorm, basically, like we have during some time here, what we call a garden thunderstorm. That's what's coming off the coast of Africa. Then it gets on that, what? Body of water, the ocean, the Atlantic Ocean. Okay, the Atlantic Ocean normally is going to be warm. It's going to be warm. Could be 80 up to 85, 86, and some places even higher, 87. Okay, that's the feeding ground of these systems. That's what it needs. That's its gas. That's its bloodline. That warmth from the ocean water. So it forms. Then comes a depression. Then it gets bigger, more numerous with thunderstorms. These thunderstorms start getting towering higher, becoming supercells, and they start getting more and more and more numerous, and it just forms in a band the way the good Lord designed until it becomes a what? Tropical storm. Then it gets stronger and stronger, and gets to speed max around what 75, I think it is. Then we call it a hurricane. A violent thunderstorm over the ocean with wind. Okay, that's how I classify them things. So yes, Miss Jennifer, what happens is it takes the warmth water, if this is what you're asking, that created these systems to form into tropical system, hurricanes, whatever. While that storm's growing, getting bigger, intensifying, strengthening, and it's most of the time they become a hurricane. Could be a Category 1 or up to a Category 5. Strong wind, lightning, some of them do. Got a lot of wind to it. It's just like they come when they make landfall, pushing that water. You know what I'm saying? That water to the coastline. Okay, that's what is that storm is with the wind battling that water in the ocean. And this process, the winds will cause the cooler water to be pushed up to the surface. So if it was, say, 85, 84, while the storm was being formed and all that, after the storm moves over where that body of water where it was, it's going to definitely have cooled down a lot. Could be 3 to 4 degrees cooler than it was before the storm formed over. So in that area, now 100,000 miles from that, yeah, the water's still going to be warm. That's why you have systems. You can have 4 or 5 systems out. I've known 6. 2 hurricanes, a couple tropical storms, a couple depression at one time, because they're not next to them, you know. So, but where these systems were formed at, when there were 6, yeah, that ocean water is definitely going to be turning about because of the winds, and where it was warm for them to create it, will have cooled down. That's the way they're designed. Does El Nino, La Nina play some major effect on some of this water cooling in the ocean? It does. Maybe we'll do another video on that. And somebody asked me, what's the latest on the condition over, is it El Nino or La Nina? It's neutral phase now. It may stay in neutral for another month, September, October. Then they're forecasting to be a La Nina. Could it go back to a El Nino? It could. Or it could go back to a La Nina. But right now, it's neutral. In other words, it's not too warm nor it's too cold. So basically, that's the way God designed these systems like that when He created the heavens and earth and everything about it. That's my opinion. But to answer the question, does the ocean water become cooler after a storm has formed over and left? Is it normally cooler? Yes. Until what? Until, if there's no cloud, until that sun, especially during the summertime, August, and hurricane peak season is around the middle of September. Okay. That's the way the earth is right now with that sun baking on the Atlantic Ocean. Okay. Yeah, it's warm, that ocean water. And that, my friend, when you're talking about the warmth from the ocean water, is like gas for a car. It will make these thunderstorms coming off the east, Africa. If that ocean water is strong enough and warm enough, okay, that's what it needs to give it the fuel so it can intensify and form into a tropical system, either a tropical storm and then a hurricane. So, but not all of them do come hurricanes. Some of them do. So, but that's a good question. That's my opinion. But yes, the ocean water is affected by these storms that it helped create into a hurricane. What we call upwelling, that's basically the winds in these storms is digging in the ocean and it's turning much needed cooler water to the surface. That's why if there's real slow in that's why if you ever notice some of these systems, like at a crawl 2 or 3 miles and it's a wide storm, it seems like it may be real strong, like a strong category 4 or 5 for 2 or 3 days, unless it's moving quick and it's just real slow. That's why a lot of times you'll start seeing it starting to fizzle out. Why? Because all that wind's blowing that warm water and replacing it with much needed cooler water. And when that happens, that's when these storms start fizzling out, weakening, whatever you want, and dying out. So, but that's my opinion. Tell me what you think, and if you know anybody else got an opinion, yeah. So that's my opinion. Like I said, studying these systems like that, yeah. No two storm is alike. Like fingerprint, no two storm is alike. But one thing that in common with most of them that's formed, now history, whatever, they had to have what? When you're talking about hurricanes, tropical system, they had to have the warm water to help them to be birthed. With that warm ocean water, then is taken from it, like when it makes landfall or it goes into an area of cooler water, it will start its final stages and fizzle out. That's how I can explain it. So that was a good question. I hope I answered it. But yes, it does cool the ocean water, sometimes 4 or 5 degrees cooler. So I hope I answered that right. Well, that's my understanding of it. Tell me what you think. Give me a text. If you got another question, just answer. So, and then again, my opinion with the El Nino, La Nina, what is it? Looking at the area over there in the Pacific, Central, yeah, it's neutral. That's to be expected. I've never known it just jump from El Nino to La Nina. No, it goes through the stage when the Lord designed it. It will go from El Nino, neutral, then La Nina. Then when things reverse it, it will go from a La Nina, neutral, to an El Nino. They can last 2 years, sometimes a year. It changes the way the life is. You know what I'm saying? God designed it. Why all this was designed? For the purpose, I think, my opinion, to help mankind. It's equaling out temperatures, settling dust, dirt, and bringing much needed water in places that needs water. That's basically it when we relate to the storms and the wind and all that. So human beings can live somewhat comfortable and equaling out the temperatures. Because when it's hot, or when it's real cold, yeah, so it kind of equals out the temperatures, and it was designed right. So, well, that's my opinion. So people, we can get on off. The Lord is willing, we'll talk later. Good night.